In the early 1990s, the Caribbean island of Jamaica stood at the edge of what many believed would be a new era of economic growth. Businesses were expanding, the middle class was growing, and entrepreneurs were taking bold risks to build a better future for their families. But within a few short years, that dream would collapse. At the center of the storm was a financial policy created by the government of the People's National Party, led at the time by Prime Minister P.J. Patterson. The policy was called Financial Sector Adjustment Company, better known by one name that still sends chills through Jamaican business circles today, FINSAC. What began as a rescue plan for the country's failing financial institutions would become one of the most devastating economic events in Jamaican history. By the mid-1990s, several banks and insurance companies in Jamaica were collapsing. Poor lending practices, economic instability, and rising interest rates had pushed many financial institutions to the brink of failure. The government stepped in. Through FINSAC, the state took control of struggling banks and financial companies. Officials said the goal was simple: stabilize the financial system and protect the Jamaican economy from total collapse. But what happened next would leave tens of thousands of families shattered. Under FINSAC, businesses that had loans with troubled financial institutions suddenly found themselves facing massive increases in interest rates and aggressive debt collection. Companies that had survived for decades were pushed into default almost overnight. Properties were seized, factories were taken, hotels, farms, and small businesses that had taken generations to build were suddenly gone. An estimated 44,000 Jamaican businesses and individuals were affected. For many, it felt less like a rescue plan and more like an economic earthquake. Middle-class entrepreneurs who had once been pillars of their communities found themselves bankrupt, homeless, and drowning in debt. Regular Jamaican families lost everything. Behind the numbers were real people. Some business owners who lost their life's work became severely depressed. Some migrated overseas, hoping to start over in places like the United States, Canada, or the United Kingdom. Others became physically ill under the stress. And tragically, some could not bear the loss and took their own lives. Communities across Jamaica watched as once successful businessmen and women fell into poverty almost overnight. The psychological impact was enormous. The middle class, the backbone of any economy, was crushed. As properties were seized and companies collapsed, a new question began to circulate among Jamaicans. Who was benefiting? Many former business owners claimed their seized assets were later sold for extremely low prices. They alleged that politically connected individuals, wealthy insiders, and powerful businessmen were able to acquire these properties at fractions of their true value. Hotels, prime real estate, factories, and commercial buildings changed hands. But according to critics of the policy, the original owners were often prevented from buying back their own properties, even when they offered more money. To those who lost everything, it felt like a massive transfer of wealth, not from the rich to the poor, but from the struggling middle class to a powerful elite. The consequences for Jamaica were enormous. When thousands of businesses collapsed, jobs disappeared, entrepreneurs stopped taking risks, investors became cautious, the economy slowed dramatically. Jamaica would spend years trying to recover from the damage. Many economists argue that the country lost a generation of business leadership during this period, a generation that could have built companies, created jobs, and expanded Jamaica's economy. Instead, many of those entrepreneurs were forced into exile or financial ruin. To this day, the legacy of FINSAC remains one of the most controversial chapters in Jamaican economic history. Supporters of the policy argue that the financial sector was collapsing and that drastic intervention was necessary to prevent total economic disaster. But critics say the rescue came at far too high a cost. They argue the policy destroyed productive businesses and unfairly punished thousands of people who were simply trying to survive in a difficult economy. For many Jamaicans who lived through that period, the wounds have never fully healed. The story of FINSAC is more than just a financial crisis. It is a reminder of how government policies, no matter how well-intentioned they may be, can change the lives of ordinary people forever. Behind every statistic is a human story. A shop owner who lost his store, a farmer who lost his land, a family forced to leave the country they loved. Today, decades later, Jamaicans still debate what truly happened during that time. Was it a necessary rescue, or was it a devastating policy failure that destroyed thousands of dreams? The answer may depend on who you ask, but one thing is certain: the shadow of FINSAC still hangs over Jamaica today. History is full of stories like this, moments when decisions made in boardrooms and government offices changed the lives of millions. And that is exactly what we explore here on World Stories. Stories of power, stories of struggle, stories that shaped nations. If you want to hear more powerful untold stories from around the world, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who believes history should never be forgotten. Because sometimes the most important stories are the ones that people try to forget.